In the deepest part of Earth's ocean, a strange black ship lay hidden for thousands of years. No one knew where it came from, but scientists were sure it wasn't built by humans. The ship was huge and had shapes that didn't make sense to human eyes. For hundreds of years, people tried to understand it, but the ship never showed any signs of life. As humans began to travel to other planets and meet alien species, they learned something disappointing. The aliens, who called themselves the Galactic Conclave, treated humans like children. They wouldn't let humans use certain technologies or travel to many parts of space. They said it was to protect humans, but most people felt it was unfair. Dr. Juwon Kim spent her life studying the Black Ship. She was the best xenorchaeologist on Earth, someone who studies alien artifacts. She had short black hair that was always messy from working long hours, and dark eyes that missed nothing. Juwon believed the ship was important to understanding humanity's real history. One day, after sitting silent for 3,000 years, the Black Ship started giving off energy readings. Sensors around the trench detected strange patterns that scientists had never seen before. The news spread quickly through Earth's scientific community. Juwon was drinking coffee in her small apartment when she got the call. Her assistant Minho's excited voice came through the speaker. "Dr. Kim, the ship is active. The readings are off the charts." She dropped her cup, not caring as coffee spilled across her floor. "Send me the data now," she said, rushing to her computer. The patterns were beautiful and complex. Juwon had studied the ship for 20 years, but this was different. The ship wasn't just making random energy, it was sending a signal. As she studied the patterns, she realized with a shock that they matched old human language patterns. Somehow, this alien ship was trying to communicate using human-like code. "It knows us," she whispered to herself. 3 days later, the Conclave sent a message to Earth's government. They demanded that all research on the Black Ship stop immediately. They wanted to send their own teams to take control of the site. Juwon was called to an emergency meeting with Earth's Security Council. 12 grim-faced leaders sat around a large table as she explained what was happening. "The ship is responding to us in a way it never has before," Juwon said. "I believe it was made to interact with humans specifically." General Han, head of Earth's defense forces, frowned. "The Conclave says the ship might be dangerous. They claim it could be from the precursor civilization they've warned us about." Juwon shook her head. "For 30 years, they've used the precursors as an excuse to keep us from advanced technology. Convenient that anything powerful is labeled too dangerous for humans." "What do you need?" asked the council president. 3 days with my team at the site before the Conclave arrives. No interference." After much debate, they agreed. Juwon gathered her best researchers. Minho, her loyal assistant who had worked with her for 10 years. Dr. Yoonji Park, the brilliant engineer who had developed new ways to scan the ship, and Do-Yum Lee, Earth's top linguist who specialized in theoretical alien communication. They traveled to the ocean trench in a small submarine. As they descended into the darkness, the Black Ship came into view in their lights. It was massive, over 3 kilometers long and shaped like nothing made by human hands. Its surface absorbed light rather than reflected it, making it look like a hole in reality. "It's beautiful," whispered Yoonji as they approached. Juwon nodded. "And it's waiting for us." They docked their sub at the research station built near the ship. For 20 years, this station had monitored the ship without any results. Now it was buzzing with activity as scientists tried to understand the new energy patterns. Juwon's team set up their equipment. Minho prepared special sensors that could detect subtle energy changes. Yoonji got ready to test new scanning methods. Do-Yum prepared his translation algorithms. "The energy is strongest here," Juwon said, pointing to what they believed might be an entrance on the ship's side. No one had ever found a way inside before. As they focused their equipment on that area, something unexpected happened. The black surface of the ship rippled like water. A section slid away, revealing an opening that hadn't been there before. Alarms blared throughout the research station. Security personnel rushed toward them. "It's opening," Minho shouted, his eyes wide with excitement and fear. Jiwan stepped forward before anyone could stop her. "It's responding to human presence. It's been waiting for us." As she moved closer to the opening, soft blue lights spilled out from inside. The security team tried to pull her back, but she shook them off. "Dr. Kim, this is a security risk," shouted the station commander. "This is what I've worked for my entire life," Jiwan replied calmly. "The ship wants to communicate with us." She stood at the threshold of the opening. The blue light washed over her, and she felt a strange tingling sensation. Data flowed into her mind. Not words, but pure information, somehow understandable. It's saying it's ours," Jiwan said in wonder. "The ship belongs to humanity. It's been waiting for us to be ready." Behind her, Do-hyun's translation equipment started printing out streams of data. "She's right," he said, reading the output. "It's using an extremely complex language pattern, but the base structure is related to human language roots." Jiwan took a step inside the ship. The walls glowed with soft light that followed her movements. Patterns appeared that looked like star maps, and DNA strands intertwined. "The Conclave knows," she said, understanding flowing into her mind from the ship. "They've always known about this ship. That's why they're coming so quickly to take control." As her team cautiously joined her inside, the ship revealed more of itself. Corridors opened that led deeper inside. The ship was sharing its secrets after thousands of years of silence. Jiwan knew they had only 3 days before the Conclave arrived to take control. 3 days to learn as much as possible about humanity's true heritage. Because one thing was becoming clear: humans were far more important to the galaxy than the Conclave had ever admitted. The black ship was just beginning to wake up, and with it, humanity's true power would resurge. Captain Taewoo Park felt small next to the black ship. The massive black vessel stretched far into the darkness of the ocean trench. Scientists in special diving suits moved across its surface like tiny ants on a fallen tree. Lights from their helmets made small bright spots against the ship's dark hull. Taewoo had been in the Navy for 15 years. He had seen strange things in space: alien worlds with 3 suns, creatures that lived in gas clouds, even the great crystal cities of the Venturi. But nothing made him feel as uneasy as this ancient ship. It seemed to swallow light itself. 72 hours, he muttered, checking his watch. That's all we have before the Conclave delegation arrives. Dr. Jiwan Kim stood beside him on the observation platform. Her face was tired, but her eyes were bright with excitement. She had fought hard to get these 3 days of freedom, to study the ship before the aliens took over. "Let's make each minute count," she said, pulling on her diving suit. Taewoo followed her example. As the Navy captain assigned to protect the research team, he rarely left Jiwan's side. He didn't fully understand her work, but he respected her determination. "You're certain this won't cause problems with the Conclave?" Taewoo asked as they rode the small elevator down to the water level. They were very clear about waiting for their experts. Jiwan's laugh echoed inside her helmet. They'd been very clear about keeping humans away from advanced technology for 60 years. That's no accident. "What do you mean?" "What the Conclave doesn't know is that this ship has been sending me data for years," she replied. "It's been waiting for something, or someone." Taewoo stared at her. "You never reported this. Would Earth's government have kept that secret from the Conclave?" "I made my choice." The elevator reached the bottom. They stepped onto a floating platform where Minho waited with diving equipment. "The energy readings are stronger today," Minho said, helping them check their gear. "Whatever woke up in there is getting more active." They slipped into the cold water. Special lights on their suits cut through the darkness as they swam toward the black ship. Other research divers moved around its surface, taking samples and measurements. As they got closer, Taewoo felt a strange sensation, like someone was watching him. He looked around but saw only other divers. "Do you feel that?" he asked over the comm system. "The ship is aware of us," Juan said calmly. "It always has been." They reached the hull. Up close, the surface wasn't smooth as it appeared from a distance. It had tiny patterns etched into it, like writing too small to read. Juan ran her gloved hand over them. "These patterns match nothing in any known language," she said, "but they remind me of old Sanskrit mixed with something else." She led them along the hull to a section that looked no different than any other part. "Here," she said. "This is where the signals are coming from." "I don't see anything," Tewu said. Juan placed her palm flat against the hull. "Watch." At first, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the black surface began to change. It shifted like water, rippling outward from her hand. The solid material flowed away, revealing an opening that hadn't been there before. "Impossible," whispered Tewu. "We've scanned every inch of this ship for decades. There was no door here." "Because it didn't want to be found," Juan said. "Until now." The opening was perfectly round, about 2 meters across. Soft blue light spilled out from inside, illuminating the dark water around them. "We should wait for the rest of the team," Tewu said, suddenly nervous. "No time," Juan replied. She swam into the opening without hesitation. Tewu cursed and followed her. Military training had taught him never to let civilians go alone into unknown situations, but nothing in his training had prepared him for this. As he passed through the opening, something strange happened. The water around him seemed to thicken, then vanish. One moment he was swimming. The next he was standing in a dry corridor, still wearing his diving suit. "What just happened?" he asked, his voice shaking slightly. Juan was already removing her helmet, some kind of field that keeps water out. Amazing technology. The corridor they stood in curved gently. The walls, floor, and ceiling were made of the same black material as the outside, but here it glowed with soft blue lines that formed complex patterns. The air smelled clean, not stale as expected in a space sealed for thousands of years. "This is impossible," Tewu said, finally taking off his own helmet. "This ship has been underwater for millennia. There shouldn't be breathable air." "The ship is alive in some way," Juan said, running her hand along the wall. "Not biological life, but a kind of advanced system that maintains itself." As they moved deeper into the ship, the blue lines on the walls began to pulse, as if responding to their presence. The corridor opened into a larger room filled with what looked like control panels. But instead of buttons or screens, there were only smooth surfaces with more of the strange patterns. Juan approached one of the panels. As her hand hovered over it, light gathered beneath her palm. "It's reacting to you," Tewu observed. "To human DNA," Juan corrected. She placed her palm flat on the panel. Immediately, the entire room lit up. Holographic displays appeared in the air, showing star maps and strange symbols. A soft humming filled the air, like machinery waking after a long sleep. "It's recognizing our DNA," Juan whispered. "The ship was built by humans, Tewu. Not modern humans, something far older." "That's not possible," Tewu said. "Human civilization is only a few thousand years old. This ship predates that by design," Juan interrupted. "What if our understanding of human history is wrong? What if it was deliberately hidden from us?" Tewu wanted to argue, but the evidence was literally all around them. The ship was responding to human presence in a way it never had for the alien researchers who had studied it previously. More panels activated as they explored the room. Each one revealed new information: technical schematics, biological data, star charts of regions Tewu didn't recognize. "Look at these star positions," Juan said, pointing to one display. "Based on stellar drift, these maps are over 100,000 years old." "Humans weren't even humans then," Tewu said. "We were still evolving." "According to what we've been taught," Juan replied. "But this ship tells a different story." She touched another panel, and a new hologram appeared. It showed human figures, but slightly different, taller, with more refined features. They wore uniforms with symbols that matched the patterns on the ship's walls. An ancient human civilization, Juan breathed. Advanced enough for interstellar travel. What happened to them? Why did they disappear? Before Tewu could respond, a new sound echoed through the ship, a deep resonance that they felt in their bones. More systems were activating deeper in the vessel. "We need to report this," Tewu said. "The conclave will be here in 3 days. If they find out what we've discovered." "They already know," Juan said quietly. "That's why they've kept us isolated all these years. They don't want us to remember who we were." The blue lights pulsed faster, leading deeper into the ship. "It wants to show us more," Juan said, already following the lights. Tewu hesitated only a moment before following her. Whatever secrets this ship held, he knew humanity's future would never be the same once they were revealed. The conclave ships arrived 12 hours early. 3 sleek silver vessels descended through Earth's atmosphere with no warning. They landed on the water near the research facility, causing large waves that rocked the floating platforms. Jiwan and Tewu were deep inside the black ship when the alarm sounded on Tewu's communicator. "They're here already," he said, checking the message. "That's not right. They weren't due until tomorrow." Jiwan looked up from the control panel she was studying. "They must have detected the ship's activation. We need to move faster." For the past 2 days, they had been mapping the ship's interior. With each new room they discovered, the truth became clearer. This vessel was built by human hands, but from a civilization far more advanced than anything in Earth's known history. Tegu's communicator beeped again. "General Han says the conclave is demanding we stop all activities immediately. High Minister Loden himself is leading the delegation." "Loden?" Juwan's eyes widened. The head of the entire Venturi race came personally. This confirms everything. They had reached what appeared to be the heart of the ship, a vast spherical chamber that stretched 50 meters in diameter. Unlike the rest of the ship's dark surfaces, this room was lined with a pale, almost white material that gave off soft light. In the center floated a large pod, suspended in midair without any visible support. Jawan approached the pod carefully. Inside was a humanoid figure, floating in clear liquid. The being looked human, but with subtle differences: slightly longer limbs, a more angular face, and skin with a faint golden tone. "Is it alive?" Tehu asked, standing beside her. Jawan checked the readings on her scanner. Some kind of suspended animation. The life signs are there, but extremely slow. This being has been asleep for thousands of years. More alarms sounded from Tehu's communicator. The conclave representatives are demanding entrance to the ship. They're citing containment protocols for dangerous precursor technology. General Han is trying to stall them. "They're afraid," Juwan said, her eyes never leaving the pod. "What do you think would happen if we tried to wake this person up?" Tewu stared at her. "That would be incredibly dangerous. We have no idea who or what that is." "I think the ship has been guiding us here from the beginning," Juwan said. She placed her hand on the surface of the pod. "Everything has been leading to this moment." As soon as her fingers touched the smooth surface, the entire chamber hummed with energy. The pod began to glow brighter, and symbols appeared on its surface. "What did you do?" Tehu asked, backing away. "I didn't do anything," Juwan said. "It was waiting for human contact." The liquid inside the pod began to drain away. Monitoring systems appeared in the air around it, showing vital signs that grew stronger by the second. Tehu's communicator erupted with urgent messages. "The conclave delegation is forcing their way in. They've overridden the security protocols." "They know what's happening," Juwan said. "They can sense the awakening." The research facility's main alarm began to blare, echoing even inside the ship. Red emergency lights flashed through the corridors. "We need to evacuate now," Tehu insisted, grabbing Jiwan's arm. "This is beyond our authority." Jiwan pulled away. This is why the ship awakened now. It's been waiting for us to be ready. I'm not leaving. The pod's surface slid open with a soft hiss. The figure inside took a deep breath, its first in millennia. Its eyes opened slowly, revealing irises of deep gold flecked with blue. Footsteps echoed from the corridor leading to the chamber. Voices shouted in both human and alien languages. The being sat up slowly, movement smooth despite the long sleep. It looked at Juan and Tewu with clear recognition, though they had never met before. Humans, it said in a voice that was musical yet strong. The word was in perfect Korean, though the accent was strange, both ancient and completely new. "Who are you?" Juan asked, her voice shaking slightly. The being stood up, revealing it was taller than an average human by at least 20 centimeters. It wore a simple fitted garment that seemed to adjust to its movements. "I am Admiral Hun, commander of the Human Stellar Authority Fleet," it said. "I have been waiting a very long time for this day." Tewu stepped forward protectively. "What is the Human Stellar Authority?" Admiral Hyun smiled. "Your ancestors, my people, the first human civilization to reach the stars." Before they could ask more questions, the chamber door slid open. 6 figures entered. 4 were human security personnel, looking nervous and confused. The other 2 were clearly alien. The first alien was tall and thin with pale blue skin and 4 arms. It wore elaborate robes covered in symbols of office. The second was shorter, reptilian in appearance, with scales that shifted color like oil on water. "High Minister Loden," Admiral Han said, recognizing the blue alien immediately. "The Venturi have changed little in 100,000 years." The blue alien froze, all 4 hands trembling slightly. "Impossible," it said in heavily accented English. "The precursor humans were all gone." "Not gone," Admiral Han said. "Sleeping, waiting, and now awakened." High Minister Loden turned to the security team. "This facility must be quarantined immediately. Seal the ship. No communication with the outside." But the ship itself seemed to respond to these commands. The lights in the chamber pulsed, and the doors began to close, separating the aliens from the humans. "The ship will not obey you," Admiral Han said calmly. "It was built to recognize only human authority." Juwan stepped forward. "What is happening? Why are they so afraid of you?" Admiral Han's expression grew serious. "Because they know what we were capable of, and what humanity might become again. The Venturi were once a species we protected. When our civilization faced its greatest threat, we had to retreat and rebuild. These races we once guided took what technology they could salvage and formed what you now call the Conclave." "You're saying humans were more advanced than the Conclave races?" Tewu asked in disbelief. "Vastly more advanced," Admiral Hyun confirmed. "And they have worked very hard to keep your development slow and controlled, to prevent you from reclaiming your heritage." Outside the chamber, they could hear the Conclave representatives shouting orders. Alarms continued to blare throughout the facility. "They will try to contain this discovery," Admiral Han said. "But it is too late. The Black Ship is just one of many vessels we left throughout the galaxy. Now that I am awake, the others will activate too." Juwan looked at Tewu, then back at Admiral Hyun. "What happens now?" "Now," Admiral Han said, "humanity remembers who they truly are. And the galaxy will never be the same." Inside the central chamber of the Black Ship, Admiral Hyun guided Juwan and Tewu to a circular platform. When they stepped onto it, a dome of light surrounded them. Inside the dome, stars appeared, thousands of them, forming a map of the galaxy. "This was human space," Hyun said, waving a hand. Nearly half the galaxy lit up in blue light. The Human Stellar Authority controlled almost 200,000 worlds. Juwan stared in amazement. "That's impossible. Humans have only visited 37 planets." "Your history was reset," Hyun explained. 100,000 years ago, humans were the oldest spacefaring race in the galaxy. We had traveled between stars for over 50,000 years. The star map changed, showing red points of light spreading from beyond the galaxy's edge. Then they came, Hyun said, his golden eyes darkening with memory. We never learned their true name. We called them the Void. They did not invade like a normal enemy. They transformed reality itself, changing the rules of physics in the spaces they occupied. The red spots expanded, swallowing blue human worlds. We fought for 300 years, Hyun continued. We created technologies that could bend time and space. We built ships that could think like living beings. We changed our own bodies to better fight the war. Tae-woo stepped closer to the map. Is that why you look different from us? Hyun nodded. My generation was engineered for enhanced intelligence, strength, and lifespan. We were meant to be the guardians of humanity. What happened? Juwon asked. How did we lose everything? We were winning the war, Hyun said, but at a terrible cost. Our weapons were destroying the fabric of the galaxy itself. We realized we had become as dangerous as the enemy we fought. The map showed the red areas retreating, but large parts of the galaxy were now dark, neither red nor blue. Our leaders made the hardest choice possible. We would retreat, hide our most dangerous technologies, and allow humanity to rebuild naturally. We placed guardian ships like this one throughout the galaxy, each containing the knowledge of our civilization. And the conclave races? Tae-woo asked. They were younger species we had guided and protected. The Venturi, the oldest among them, were barely achieving spaceflight when humans already had a 1,000-year empire. When we retreated, we left them with limited technology and knowledge. As Admiral Hyun spoke, the ship hummed with increasing energy. Lights pulsed along the corridors, and new systems activated throughout the vessel. The conclave races know this truth, Hyun said. They were once our protectorates. When we fell, they took what technology they could salvage and established themselves as the new galactic order. They have deliberately kept your development in check, fearing your return to power. Juwon's communication device beeped urgently. The conclave delegation has taken control of the research facility, she reported. They're demanding to speak with us. They sense the awakening, Hyun said calmly. They fear what comes next. The three of them left the central chamber and moved through the ship's corridors toward the entrance. As they walked, Admiral Hyun touched panels and interfaces, activating more of the ship's systems. What are you doing? Tae-woo asked. Waking up the ship's defensive capabilities, Hyun replied. The conclave will try to seize this vessel. They cannot be allowed to access our technologies. When they reached the entry point, they found armed guards, both human and alien, waiting for them. High Minister Loden stood at the front, his 4 arms held in a formal position of authority. By order of the Galactic Conclave, this facility is now under quarantine, Loden announced. All research materials must be surrendered immediately. Then his eyes fell on Admiral Hyun. The alien minister's blue skin paled to almost white. Impossible, Loden whispered. The precursor humans were all destroyed. Not destroyed, Hyun replied calmly, merely waiting for the right time to return. Loden turned to the Earth security forces. This being is extremely dangerous. Contain it immediately. The human guards looked confused, torn between obeying the alien authority and their loyalty to Earth. Hyun stepped forward. Minister Loden, your ancestors swore oaths of loyalty to the human stellar authority. The Venturi would still be trapped on their home world if not for human guidance. That was 100,000 years ago, Loden said, his voice shaking slightly. The galaxy has a new order now. An order built on stolen technology and broken promises, Hyun replied. The tension in the room grew as more conclave officials entered. The second alien, the reptilian one, spoke rapidly into a communication device in its own language. They're calling for reinforcements, Tae-woo whispered to Juwon. Admiral Hyun raised a hand. Instantly, a wave of energy pulsed from the ship. All communication devices went dead. The lights in the facility flickered. "What are you doing?" Loden demanded. "The black ship is fully awake now," Hyun said. "It recognizes the threat you pose." Outside the facility, the water around the research station began to churn. The black ship's hull glowed with patterns of blue light that had never been seen before. A security officer rushed in. "Minister, something's happening. The ship is creating some kind of energy field around the entire facility." Loden turned back to Hyun, fear now evident in his large eyes. "Stop this immediately. You cannot just reappear after 100,000 years and reclaim authority. Your ancestors swore oaths to the human stellar authority," Hyun told the stunned conclave representatives. "Those oaths were never dissolved. You have broken faith with those who uplifted you." Jiwan stepped forward, trying to ease the tension. "We don't need to be enemies. Humans and the conclave races can work together." "Impossible," the reptilian official said. "If humans reclaim their former power, the balance of the galaxy will be destroyed." "The balance you created by keeping us ignorant and weak," Tiu countered. The facility shook as the energy field expanded. Through the viewports, they could see a shimmering barrier forming around the entire research station. "What is happening?" Jiwan asked Hyun. "The ship is protecting itself and humanity's legacy," Hyun explained. "It's creating a temporal barrier. Nothing can enter or leave until I command it." Loden approached Hyun, all pretense of authority gone. "Please," he said quietly. "You don't understand what's at stake. The void. They never truly left. We've been keeping them contained all these millennia." This revelation seemed to surprise even Hyun. "Explain," he demanded. "Your people's final weapon pushed them back, but didn't destroy them," Loden said. "For 100,000 years, the Conclave has maintained the barriers between our galaxy and theirs, using the technologies your people left behind." "And yet you kept humanity weak," Hyun said. "The very race that created those technologies, because your weapons nearly destroyed the galaxy itself," Loden exclaimed. "We feared what would happen if humans regained that power." The room fell silent as everyone processed this information. The truth was more complex than either side had admitted. Hyun looked at Jiwan and Taewoo, seeing the shock on their faces. Then he turned back to Loden. "If what you say is true, then we have much to discuss," he said finally. "But know this, humanity will reclaim its place in the stars, not as conquerors, but as what we always were meant to be, guardians against the darkness." The news spread across Earth within hours. Videos of Admiral Han leaked from the research facility, despite the Conclave's efforts to contain the information. People everywhere watched in wonder as the golden-eyed being explained humanity's true heritage. 3 days after Hyun's awakening, reports came from distant star systems. Black ships, identical to the one found on Earth, were appearing and activating. They rose from ocean depths on colony worlds, emerged from mountain ranges on planets only recently explored, and awakened from dormant states in deep space. Jiwan watched the reports coming in from the command center established inside the original black ship. Each new activation appeared as a bright point on the galactic map. 17 so far, she said to Hyun, who stood beside her studying the map. "All responding to your signal." "There should be 212 in total," Hyun replied. "Placed at key points throughout human space. Each contains specific knowledge and technology meant to help humanity rebuild." The Conclave's initial attempt to quarantine Earth had failed. Within hours of Hyun's awakening, ships from a dozen human colonies arrived in Earth's system, ignoring Conclave travel restrictions. They carried humans who had felt a strange calling, drawing them to Earth just as the black ships awakened. The Conclave itself was in chaos. Some member races, like the Venturi, demanded immediate action to contain the human threat. Others, particularly younger races with less historical knowledge, were curious about these revelations. A few races even admitted that their oldest legends spoke of human guardians who had once protected them. In a special session of the United Nations, leaders from every nation gathered to hear Admiral Hyun speak. The Grand Assembly Hall was packed beyond capacity. Billions watched the broadcast worldwide. Hyun stood tall before them, his golden eyes scanning the crowd. Ji-won stood at his side, nervous but proud to represent humanity in this historic moment. For 100,000 years, your ancestors have grown and developed naturally, unaware of their true heritage. Hyun began. This was by design. The human stellar authority made the difficult choice to reset civilization, rather than risk becoming what we fought against. He activated a small device on his wrist. A holographic display appeared, showing the ancient conflict with the void creatures. Our war nearly destroyed the galaxy. Our weapons became too powerful, too dangerous. We had to step back and find a different path forward. Questions came from world leaders about the technology, about the other black ships, about humanity's place in the galaxy now. Hyun answered each one patiently. "Will we reclaim our former empire?" asked one president. "The concept of empire belongs to your past, not your future," Hyun replied. "We were not meant to dominate. The original human stellar authority was a guardian force, protectors against threats from beyond our galaxy." Ji-won stepped forward to speak. She had prepared for days, working with Hyun to understand the true purpose of his mission. "The black ships contain technologies that could transform our civilization overnight," she explained. "But we must be careful. The same power that enabled humans to protect the galaxy also nearly destroyed it. We must learn from that mistake." Over the next weeks, Earth's scientists worked with Hyun to understand the black ship technology. They discovered ways to generate clean energy, heal diseases, and travel through space faster than ever before. But the most powerful weapons remained locked, accessible only when truly needed. The Conclave leadership finally requested a formal meeting with Hyun and Earth's representatives. The gathering took place on neutral ground, a space station at the edge of the solar system. High Minister Loden seemed smaller now, less imposing than when he had first confronted them. "We have confirmed the awakening of 32 black ships throughout Conclave space," Loden said. "Many of our member races are unsettled by these events." "Change is often unsettling," Hyun replied calmly. "What do the humans want?" asked another Conclave minister, a being made of crystalline structures. "To reclaim our place as guardians," Hyun said, "not rulers." The distinction is important. The negotiations lasted days. In the end, a new agreement was reached. The Conclave would recognize humanity's right to access the black ship technology. In return, humans would share the benefits with all races and work together to maintain the barriers against the void. 6 months after Hyun's awakening, the first ship built with black ship technology prepared for its maiden voyage. The vessel, named New Dawn, was sleek and powerful, yet contained only defensive weapons. Captain Taewoo Park stood proudly on the bridge. His crew was a mix of Earth humans and representatives from several Conclave races, a symbol of the new cooperation. "Course laid in, Captain," said his first officer, a young woman who had grown up on one of the distant human colonies. "Take us out, Lieutenant," Taewoo ordered. "Standard speed until we clear the solar system." As the ship moved away from Earth, a message appeared on the main viewer. It came not from Earth or the Conclave, but from deep space, from thousands of sources simultaneously. "We are the remnant," the message began. "Descendants of the humans who stayed awake while others slept. We have watched and waited for the black ships to awaken. We welcome our Earth cousins back to the stars." The message included coordinates, locations of human outposts established by those who had maintained the ancient knowledge in secret, hidden from the Conclave for millennia. "There are more of us out there," Ji-won whispered from her position at the science station. "We were never truly alone." Taewoo looked at his diverse crew, humans working alongside the very aliens who had once restricted them. He thought about how quickly things had changed, and how much more change was still to come. "Set course for the nearest remnant coordinates," he ordered. "Let's go meet our family." As New Dawn accelerated to faster-than-light speed, using technology once thought impossible by Earth standards, Tewu knew this was just the beginning. Humanity had returned to the galactic stage, not as conquerors seeking revenge, but as the guardians they were always meant to be. Across the galaxy, the black ships continued to awaken, each one a piece of humanity's lost heritage coming back to life. And beyond the galaxy's edge, in the darkness between the stars, something ancient stirred in response. The enemy that had never truly been defeated, sensing the return of its old adversary. The true test of humanity's return was still to come.